This is my bike workshop, and in today's video, I'll be fully overhauling my tool wall, workbench, and tool storage areas to create the ultimate at-home bike workshop. I'm Andrew, and this is One Last Lap. I've been building and repairing bikes in my garage for around 10 years, and my current workstation has become too small and cluttered for the amount of work that I do. The table itself has served me well, but I needed to replace it since it's quite small and doesn't have much capacity to store tools and parts. My tools also ran out of room on my old pegboard, so my first order of business was to prepare a new wall-mounted tool area separate from the work table. The boards I use for this are reused fence boards, and they needed to be trimmed before installing. My brother ran the saw and passed me the boards while I used the nail gun to install the boards on the wall. I played around with the idea of building my own workbench at this point, but when I found a very solid work table at Home Depot on clearance, I bought that instead for $200. The new workbench is 6 feet wide and has an adjustable height, and it's very sturdy compared to my previous bench. To better light the area, I got a garage light from Costco for around $40 to put above the table. I repurposed my old lights to give more light to the middle of my workspace, and there's a huge difference in the amount of light in my garage. I also added 2 LED strips from Dollarama to the back of the work table to give me some lighting options for future filming. With the wall and the table in place, I could now start laying out my tools to be mounted to the wall. I had all the tools laid out and ready to mount when I received these new Silka T-handle hex keys in the mail. These are going to be my new go-to hex keys, so I knew they needed to go right in the middle of the new layout. One of the flaws of my previous setup was that the hooks on the pegboard would always come loose when I removed the tools. So for this wall, I used thin finishing nails to hold everything in place, and the tools are much more secure on the wall. I finished the wall by installing my Shimano sign and then moved on to mounting the vise onto the table. My bench vise might look old, and it actually is. It's a hand-me-down from my grandfather, and it's become one of my favorite tools in the shop. I actually found this covered in rust in my parents' basement, but I cleaned it up and it's become a fixture in my shop. I had to drill 3 holes to mount the vise, and I really didn't want to mess this up with my brand new table. So I took my time aligning the vise and carefully drilled the holes. The precision paid off, and I got the vise exactly where I wanted. I also had this vise mounted on my old work table, but it had the issue of shaking the entire table when I put pressure on it. On the new table, it's as solid as a rock. I had one more thing to complete on the tool wall, and that was making some small shelves to hold my frequently used cleaning products. I cut a piece of fence board in half, making 2 L-shaped shelves, which I put directly on the tool wall. Here's a look at my previous tool wall setup, and then here's the after. With the tool wall done, I'm ready to move on to part 2 of this project. The next part of this project involved replacing my 2 small tool chests with 1 large one. I got this Husky box from Home Depot for $700, and somehow also managed to get this 200-pound box out of the car by myself. I checked the dimensions of the new box many times, and the plans for it to fit directly under the workbench and hold all of my additional tools. I put the wheels on outside and then rolled the box into place. I had to move my rubber floor mats and also ended up having to slightly adjust the height of my table to fit the box. But after a few adjustments, the box slid perfectly into place. The capacity of this box is more than both of my old boxes combined, and it's also tucked out of the way to give me more floor space to work in. It also turned out that the secondhand market for toolboxes is red hot. So after unloading both of my old toolboxes, I listed them for sale and was able to sell them within a couple days for $400 combined. With all of the old tools out, I got to work organizing them in the new box. I really like the wide top drawer as it gives space for longer wrenches and sockets. The lower drawers, I tried to group tools in similar themes. So this one was for bearing and bottom bracket tools, this one was for additional small hand tools, this was for my cutting tools drawer, my cleaning tools drawer, and then also an aerosol can drawer. This is probably my favorite drawer, which is my small parts drawer and uses plastic organizers to organize the parts. It took a few afternoons to really get everything organized and where I want. After all this cleaning and organizing, I still had a number of extra tools laying around, so I decided to make a travel toolbox. I got this box at my local Canadian Tire for around $150, and I cut the layers of foam to precisely hold 3 separate layers of tools. With that done, I did one final vacuum, and here's how it all turned out.